unmanifest glory. Of course, all of our work is centered around the beauty, the magic of the star tetrahedron. It is the Aladdin's lamp of creation. And as you formulate it with divine power and divine love, it creates a mystical marriage that's a crystalline structure of light and consciousness that forms around and through the body. And it's crystalline star tetrahedron upon crystalline star tetrahedron. So it's just not one star tetrahedron. There are teeny ones here, little bitty ones, and then they simply keep manifesting and getting larger and larger. And of course, then around the sun, it's a magnificent, very large star tetrahedron. But at the very center of the star tetrahedron, there's always then the doorway, the opening back into the void from out of which life emerges. And so everything that we see within manifest reality is simply that which is emerged out of the void. It's what that which we would call God has been able to see what God can be. But in the expansiveness of God becoming, God created parts of God's self, you, I, every human being, all creation, to continue to, if you will, formulate and refine oneself to become a living star tetrahedron, a living Christ wave, which then is able to open the doorway into the void, and then even more edification, more of God's source, which you are, I am, arising forth into creation. So very exciting. Excuse me, this is, of course, the image that shows the star tetrahedron around the body. It is in front, it is in back, it is all around, and it does open the doorway into the void. Where all creation exists within the void, but again, it's unmanifest. Now, when we talk about a crystalline structure, of course, this is a crystal. Let me give you a bird's eye view of this crystal. And you can see how beautifully formulated the facets are. And of course, they're reflecting light, illuminating light. And in one way, you might be able to see it that it's very pure inside. And so it's kind of interesting in this particular crystal that inside there's a little bit of a fracture point. And when you look straight on, you don't see that fracture point because it still looks clear. But if you turn the crystal to a certain place, all of a sudden the light hitting it then creates a refraction of a rainbow color. And so in the purity of crystal, as you simply refract it, create a refraction within it, a splitting, a refraction, all of a sudden there is the emanation of colorful light. And it is colorful light then that through the Christ then takes that colored light and then holographically brings it into form, precipitating more and more color until it becomes actually what appears to be dense physicality. And then the eoma, this very subtle substance of creation, then simply forms around it and gives it actual physicality and form. And we are learning how to become the master of that particular mechanism, that Christ mechanism. Do you remember the word that was spoken once about a machine of...
miracle machine of wholeness.
A miracle machine of wholeness. That's the Christ wave, the Christ star. Miracle machine of wholeness. Excuse me. Excuse me. Because it's from out of that mechanism that we learn to actually become creator gods, creator beings. We illuminate within the void that which we already are. We originally emerged from out of the void. Source God, simply, if you will, manifested what is the light being that we are into form. But that's where we came from. And that's who we are. And so as we open the doorway back into the void, and we're able then to esoterically look into the void, you're simply seeing yourself. And so it is you looking at you in the joy of seeing who and what you are, God within the void, but now seeing yourself as God manifest within form. And this comes with the realization, you see, of the Christ star tetrahedron. In last month's newsletter that I sent out, it was an article that was from the book that I'm now getting ready to finish up. I'm in the last parts of editing. It went to the line editor and will be going to the actual editor within the next week or two, and then into the publication probably in about 3 to 4 weeks. So that's very exciting. And I sent out a letter to many of you asking to support it through the foundation, a tax deductible foundation. And I really want to acknowledge the receipt from you of those donations because they all go towards the publishing of the book and the very dynamic social media that I want to put around the book to really get it out there to as many people as possible, because we know it's such a super critical time on the planet. And the book Source Dialogues, it lays out very clearly the problems, the issues, but it gives the solutions to act now at this time to change the frequency, the vibration of you and I, which then could begin to actually then automatically reforest, reform, revegetate the planet. We can go out and do it piece by piece, tree by tree, soil by soil, which is wonderful. But it's really going to take an enlivening of a quickening of consciousness to quickly terraform the planet. And so that's the level of Source Book, Source Dialogues, coming out before long. So thank you for your assistance. Again, it's through the foundation this is taking place. The other thing I wanted to talk about is we're moving now into the winter time. And of course, well, we would call it flu season, COVID season. But I want to give you some really positive ideas, solutions. There's a video that just came out by Dr. Ardis, Ardis, and it very beautifully lays out some of the protocols around COVID. If we don't have the vaccine, it gives all the protocols that we might want to be using to keep our immune systems boosted to the very highest. And if we have taken the vaccine, he simply then gives protocols to assist the body in removing, letting go of any possible things that could be a deterrent to one's health. So if you're interested at all in that protocol, simply email me or text me, and I would send it right off to you. I found it super fascinating and quite illuminating. So the other thing around that, one of our very close friends recently had COVID, and I, of course, worked with them very closely to keep their energy, their consciousness at a very high frequency, because there's really nothing, so to speak, wrong with COVID. Virus down through from the very beginning of time have been the adaptation of life to the environment. And so a virus comes along, life again adapts to it by simply taking the virus in and then changing and evolving to, if you will, be able to work with it. It's the same with COVID. If we get the COVID virus, it is the soul, the being you are, that is bringing it into to another level of adaptation. We know that we're moving to a higher trajectory in our consciousness and our evolution. As we well know, we're moving into a human divine species that's being architected. And so we must have a very powerful and a very dynamic immune system. And so this individual, I worked with them again to keep the energy positive, very upbeat, no fear, no worry. We talked about some of the things that would boost the immune system, which I've talked about before, turkey tail. And in a very short time, less than a week or 10 days, this individual is now feeling quite chipper once again. So they make COVID this big bugaboo. And it's not a big bugaboo. There are supplements, there are things that are available to us. If we've gotten the vax, so fine, so be it. But for those who are wanting just to, again, allow their immune systems to take in this virus and then adapt to it, so that when it continues to evolve, as it has, the body and the immune system is already adapted to that. One doesn't get it again. One has already created T cells within the body that are refined and are able then to handle that next level of adaptation. So it's just all part of the evolution of the planet. So again, this individual very quickly, you see, worked through it. And I know many of my friends, I know several of them that have gotten COVID, and because they use different protocols, supplements, things that Dr. Artis talks about in his video, it very quickly, they came back to health and vitality. So as we're moving now towards the flu cold season, I want to encourage you once again to not go to that place of fear or worry or concern, because that's what again attracts to you things that are negative, things that are out of balance. When we're in the Christ wave and our energy is very dynamic, just like the sun, you don't see any viruses attacking the sun. There was this story of a group of beings, some humans on the planet. They were going to go to the sun, and there was a news conference. And so all the reporters were asking, well, when you go there, won't you burn up in the sun's radiance? And they said, no, we're going to go at night. So it's the same with the virus. It simply burns up in the radiance of the sun as it does within your auric field, or the immune system within you adapts to it. So always upbeat, positive, full of life and joy, and that which is life and joy, prosperity will simply be attracted and brought to you. We know over our work together over these many, many months and years that we create our reality by our thoughts, our feelings, what we are emanating. And we have talked in particularly now as we move into the new paradigm. The old paradigm was about thought. What am I thinking? I'm going to get. What do I want to make? I make it. But now we're moving to imagination and feeling. What I imagine and feel automatically begins to precipitate into form, because that is the Christ consciousness. And so we are precipitating into form by our thoughts and feelings of joy and health and vitality, and one life that moves throughout all creation, simply source God. All else is an illusion. Only God is beneath all creation, only source. And as we see and feel that, affirm it, enliven it, we become it. It's a very simple formula, very simple. We also find, though, as you well know, that the world is in a place of fear and worry and concern. And I'm very visual as far as my perception, so I see kind of the auric field of the world. And there's a miasma, a very dark energy of fear and worry and manipulation and money grabbing and power. And it's out there. But if you're in a place of inner sunlight and inner light, that miasmic cloud of illusion doesn't settle around you, doesn't settle around your home, your friends, your car. You are simply always in the internal sunlight. And that's where all humanity is going to. We're just here to be seeds to show the way. So, great spiel, Gary. Well, thank you. Namaste, Gary. So one of the things that we know is very important in our work is the breath work. The reason being is because the crystalline structure of the star tetrahedron, as it is turning and rotating, it literally then holographically brings the image, the feeling that you have identified within the void into holographic reality. But then it has to have life. And it's just like you and I. The reason that we have life is because we breathe. We, of course, understand it's oxygen, but it's really spirit. Spirit is the breath of life. And so as we create the star tetrahedron, it is literally the breath that is then arising from inside out. We are drawing it in through that which is the holographic image feeling, and then it becomes living starlight coming from us. Not just static light, but living starlight, Christ energy all around and through us. So We know that in the Soham breath, we're breathing in very deeply in the in breath, really expanding the lungs, allowing the diaphragm to go down. We are calling, summoning life force, spirit from inside the open doorway. We pause for a couple of counts and then with a gentle, simply letting go of the hum. So, it's that sound of the letting go of the breath that the sparkling, effervescent, dancing sunlight is now going through every cell and tissue of the body, and it is bringing respiration. It is bringing Christ respiration to your cells and your tissues. And so we are then evolving the body by simply knowing in our breathing that we're calling source in and through. So let's do 5 minutes of our Soham breath. We always like to have the spine nicely straight because it is the spinal column. It is the very center of the star tetrahedron. It's in front, it's in back, it's all around. And the spinal column then is then very clear and very aligned. So let's go ahead and do 5 minutes of Soham breath. And another nice deep breath. One of the beautiful things about the breath work is, of course, it focuses the mind. And so if you're focusing your mind upon breathing, you can't be an emotion. You can't be angry. You can't be sad. You can't be lonely. You can't be worried. You're literally summoning spirit, breath. So the mind is then attached to truth and joy and peace and literally emanating life from within. And so there is no emotion then. There's love, which is a feeling. There's joy, which is a feeling. But the emotions are simply disappearing. So whenever throughout the day that we all of a sudden feel ourselves in some emotion, something's coming up, we simply go, well, let me now breathe. Let me feel the emotion, not enliven it, but simply recognize it. But then quickly come to, okay, now I can bring the breath of life and then bring that which is peace and joy and love and really heal and love myself through my breath, which allows the emotion to be dispelled. The spell is broken. So in the star tetrahedron, the upper triangulation of divine power, it again rotates. We like to see it maybe rotating from left to right clockwise, but once again, don't get lost in the rotation. Simply know it's rotating. Lower triangulation, right to left, counterclockwise. Again, not getting lost in that, but simply knowing knowing and feeling that as the star tetrahedron is moving, and every day that you're doing the meditation, it's becoming more real, more aligned, more living in your fields of consciousness. That it's literally opening this sacred doorway right in the middle of the heart chakra, back into the realms of void. And from there, you are simply identifying the image feeling of that which is your choice of creation. And we know in our meditation, it's simply the literally spring of golden living sunlight, the Christ field that's arising for. After our meditation, we can then begin to focus upon specifics, relationship, prosperity, what would be the joy of our creation. If you are really hungry and like a loaf and a fish, go for it. Loaf and a fish. So I'm going to take you through the full formulation of the star tetrahedron, and then we will meditate for about 30 to 35 minutes, my friends. And of course, I will join with you and gather us all together in one living, radiant star. So as we close the eyes, we feel the body relaxing. We bring our attention between the eyebrows, imagining we can draw a line straight back. Within the approximate center point of the head, we ignite the light of the soul. As you walk into a room and turn on the light switch, there is light, immediate light within the center point of the mind brain, the light of the soul, the essence of power to focus light to the heart chakra at the sternum, and we imagine the star tetrahedron. Whatever size you choose, it feels comfortable. Upper triangulation is divine power, apex above. Sacred and divine love, apex beneath, and counter rotating triangulations open a sacred doorway through the heart chakra into the eternal void and arising forth the breath of spirit, the golden spring of the eternal Christ wave, illuminating every cell and tissue in the body and flowing like living sunlight out into the world. I will join with you as we move into light activation. Welcome back, my friends. So as we go forth into the week and into this coming month and the holidays, very exciting holidays, with much joy and excitement, enthusiasm, knowing that what we are feeling inside is creating our reality. And if we're getting reflections of things that bother us, we simply feel it inside the body and realize there's some part that is being brought to our attention so that we can find the emotion, bring love to it, and let it go, and continue on our path of revealing what you already are, divine and sacred. You have just become a divine being that has decided to put on the worlds of form for a while and play. So wake up and play as the place. Be free. Love you, folks. Thank you very much. It's always magnificent to meditate with you. If I can serve you anyway, just please let me know. Blessings.